In this world, there are no two things that are more different than mobile games and horror. If I had to make a Venn diagram of the two, actually, let me do that real quick. You might notice that none of the horror games in the middle are what we in the biz call scary. Or are they? I've already done videos on how awful mobile horror games can be 3 times, but just to make sure, once again, I went and downloaded a ton of these mobile horror games to see if they're awful or if they're, well, not. This time, instead of the App Store, I'm primarily going to use the Google Play Store. It's easier to release games on there, and that means less of a barrier to entry for indie developers, so maybe they'll be better than the comparatively more corporate games on the App Store. But a lower barrier to entry also means a lower bar for quality. Maybe they'll be even worse, but you'll just have to see for yourself. Like last time, I've divided the games into categories. This time there are 5. Escaping games, where you have to escape from an area. Break-in games, which are basically Hello Neighbor ripoffs. FNAF-Likes, which are FNAF ripoffs or fan games, depending on how much I like them. Backrooms games, since there's an entire genre of these things now. And lastly, excuse me, what? Which are the games too weird or niche to fit into an existing category. Alright, now that I've established everything, I don't think there's a reason to delay things. Let's take a look at some horrible mobile horror games. With a genre as broad as escaping games, I tried my best to find as much variety as possible. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the idea of escaping from some sort of scary monster is really straightforward, but with a genre that sounds so open-ended, you'd be surprised by how samey a lot of these games really are. Starting with the first game I'll be looking at, Evil Nun Horror at School. It seems to be part of a series of games, since the related games section is chocked full of them. It's a pretty popular series too, considering the game has over 50 million downloads with a 4.6 star rating, so I'm expecting the pinnacle of game design. Just look at one of these amazing reviews, like this one from a Google user. "This game is amazing! I'm not being sarcastic. The more updates, the more there are cool areas to explore. Take, for example, the maze update. You explore it, you're just about to take a turn, and then the nun pops up. This game is getting better every update. Can you add something in the game where there are game consoles in multiple places, and when you interact with them, they turn on and the nun goes towards the console you turned on? This game is seriously well made." So the first thing I did was set my age to match the average Evil Nun player. The game then immediately began shilling the ad-free version. "Do you want to remove the ads?" "I don't know. Why don't you let me see the gameplay first?" Next, it gives me a daily reward. "Congratulations! Your child has been selected to participate, free of charge, in the new summer camp organized by this school. With our best care and attention, your child will have an unforgettable summer. Cupcake, gumdrop, snickums, buckums." My name is Matthias Felipe, and oh god, I'm British!
Pick your ideal getaway.
The middle of nowhere, here I go! We pull up to some random garage and oh no, there's the evil nun. We try to go back to the car and he just leaves. He is not dealing with this shit, man. Honestly, respect for that. Anyways, oh shit. So we wake up after being kidnapped by the evil nun, writing, "I have to be good. I am Matthias Felipe." They have to be good. So now we actually get to play the game. The basic premise is that we need to escape the horrors at school. I'm not sure why the game needed to take so long to explain that. Really, I could have just read the title, but without this intro, I wouldn't have known the horrors of being British. I open the vent and leave through there. There's some keypad that needs a code. Doing pretty good so far. She'll never find me in here. Never mind. Then I got an ad for Snake Clash. It's called Super Cent because I wouldn't pay a cent to play their games. Okay, so yesterday I didn't do very well, but this time I'm confident. Let me go through the door this time, making big money moves here. I need to open that one with keys. Oh, better close the door. See, now that one actually didn't count. I should really be more careful, so instead of walking, I'm just gonna crawl everywhere to be extra sneaky. Honestly, I don't even know what I was thinking there. Guys, Matthias Felipe is fucking dead. Sorry guys, there's nothing I could have done to prevent that outcome. Okay, let's do this one last time. My name is Alex Games now. Unlike Matthias, Alex actually has some survival instincts. See, look, I'm in the vent. You can't get me now. Oh shit! So it turns out the evil nun can climb vents. That's something that would have been nice to know. Okay, so I got her in a nice, safe loop now, so she should be a little more manageable. Now I can finally get away. So now I'm in a nice, secluded area. Surely she can't get me. Why are you going through the vent? The door is right there! Okay, now I'm curious. What happens if I just don't leave? I'll just stay in my room and be fine. I didn't even get a warning! Okay, so on the last day, I actually did things so I can finally explain the game. You have to go around the school, which in my opinion just kind of looks like an old house, and can collect coins and look for clues on what to do, all while escaping from the evil nun. Do not use the hiding spots, even in situations where they should work, they don't, and that was what ultimately got me killed here. The other hiding fail at least makes sense because she saw me enter it. Here, there was no reason for her to not just turn around and leave. Either way, another child is dead and I'm ready to move on to the next game. That being Horror Maze Scary Games. This one's weird. We wake up in a room and are given the story. Welcome to the Horror Maze Hotel. That's not a concerning name. It is no coincidence that our hotel takes the first place among those who like to tickle their nerves. You know what? I think I'm good actually. We get a key and can use it to leave the room, with a little harmless mannequin guide that moves around. The game does this really annoying thing where it'll occasionally give a 5-second countdown to an ad that completely breaks my immersion and ruins the pacing.
Pick your ideal getaway.
Which in this case is actually a shame because this one has a story, or at least a plot where things happen, sort of. Our first task after leaving the room is to find the Joker. I'm not sure what he's doing here in the Horror Maze Hotel. The door in front of me ominously opens, and Gandalf! Then I got an ad for K-pop piano beats. Oh sweet, there he is. We talk to the Joker, but he just laughs while the character we're playing as hyperventilates. Like, shut up, dude. Stop breathing. You know what? I think I'm done talking to you. What? What? What happened? What happened? Wait, where did he go? Is he just dead now? Then the spike wall that was just in the background the whole time for some reason started closing in on me. But thankfully, when the Joker fucking exploded, he gave me the magical flower of life, and that brought me back to life, which is great because if I died there, the story would have ended. I wake up in a coffin, and now the new goal is to collect runes from the walls that give me magic powers. I thought this was a horror game. I'm not entirely sure what's happening anymore. I guess there's a mummy in this hallway. That's kind of scary, but it doesn't really do anything. I talk to this rotting corpse and then go into a mirror, and there's a hidden passageway specifically in the mirror version of the room, but not the original, and that leads to a coliseum where you have to use ice magic to defeat enemies, and I get the ability to turn into a rat. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on. I just woke up like this. At this point, I don't think this classifies as horror anymore. It's more of a story-based puzzle game that happens to be called Horror Maze. There was one actually pretty cool moment where the new rat power allowed me to explore a new hidden passageway that led me back to the main area. So in that sense, it's like a Metroidvania where you get to get new progression. It's cool, I like it. Unfortunately, right after that, I got murked by a rat. After getting all the runes, I was allowed into this room that slowly killed me, and now I'm not really sure what to do, but until then, the game was pretty cool. The next game is Scary Grandma Grandpa House 3D, because when I think of something scary, the first thing I think of is old people with their brittle bones and arthritis. Made with Unity, that's a good first impression. And that's even better! What a beautiful title screen. The low quality image, the off-center play button, the half screen of complete dead space. Truly, only a true master of graphic design is capable of ignoring so many of the common conventions. This image should be framed and placed in a museum for all to take inspiration from. Then I pressed start game and it doxed me. The gameplay itself is actually very straightforward. Instead of the more open progression allowed by games like Granny, this game has you wandering a mysteriously piss-colored house doing exactly one thing per level. That way it saves your progress so often, even a little baby with no hands or legs can still manage to play it with enough trial and error. The objectives are also your only link to the story. You are standing inside the house, and Grandpa is coming for you. Run and hide in basement and let the Grandpa pass. The game also politely shows you exactly where to go at any given time. This eliminates literally all horror the game might have, but that's fine, because now they can show ads to more people when they beat the levels. The game also just gives you a marker on where the grandpa is, as well as an entire view of him in the corner. I'm not sure where the titular scary in this game is supposed to be found. Like, the music pretends something scary is happening, but I'm sorry, Grandpa isn't exactly a terrifying monster. The sensitivity in this game absolutely sucks. It takes multiple full swipes to turn the camera, and it's absolutely unbearable. There also doesn't seem to be a way to change it, so it's stuck like this forever. You can tell just by playing that this game is barely being held together with duct tape and Elmer's glue. But I'm sure you already could have guessed that when you saw the title screen with no title. Some of these levels are insanely short too, being beaten in less than a minute. Overall, I don't really have much else to say. There's a point where a game is so bad it kinda just speaks for itself, and that's the scariest thing about Scary Grandpa. I'm just wondering where Scary Grandma is. The next one's called Scary Killer Escape Horror. Yeah, steal my data. So this is the titular Scary Killer, a copyright-free fusion of Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In this game, you play as a treasure hunter in a haunted house. This one's more like Evil Nun and less like Scary Grandpa. It tells you what item to find, then tasks you with going around the house to find it, all while avoiding the evil killer. Generally, this also involves getting a generator set up and then unlocking the door and then escaping the house. We've already seen both leveled and open world formats of this game design, and usually they both have problems. Segmented games are too easy and devoid of tension, while open games are usually too cryptic and unpredictable. But this game manages to find a system that actually works. When the killer is nearby, the sound of your heartbeat gets more and more noticeable. This allows you to have a general idea on how safe or unsafe you are without outright telling you where he is. If anything, knowing he's nearby without seeing him actually makes it more tense. Around the house there are also other little ghosts and some laughing lady in a chair, and unlike Scary Nun, the hiding mechanic actually works. This is also one of the better looking games. It's not particularly scary in its atmosphere, but I quite like the colors. Not to mention, if the game was shrouded by darkness, that'd make it a lot more difficult to play portably or like outside, which is probably the only reason you'd be playing a mobile game in the first place. Like, if you had the choice between Scary Teacher or Amnesia, I think the choice is obvious. Scary Teacher has scary in the name. This one's overall pretty alright. The only real issue is that after a certain point, it kind of just feels like running around aimlessly looking for the one thing you need. You're lucky enough to at least get an indication of something being an important item with some sparkly dust, but actually getting to the item can be quite tedious, especially as the house opens up more and more with a second floor. I'd imagine once you know the location of every item, this game would be pretty fun to speedrun, but until you make it to that point, it's a lot of trial and error. The killer kind of walks around aimlessly until you make noise, which is also quite silly.
Metal Horror Escape.
Who the fuck is that guy?
This is a genre staple of how you make an amazing horror game. Metal Horror Escape 2 is probably my favorite. Okay, this bit's getting old. I had no idea what this game was until Tara told me about it, to be honest. I was hating pretty hard while playing, mainly because I was stuck crouching. Once I figured out that major hurdle, I got to say, this game is honestly really good. It's designed to feel like an escape room with you getting items that might not immediately be helpful, but will be super important in a later section. You wake up trapped in a cage and need to figure a way out. However, someone before you had already tried this and conveniently left you a note the maniac didn't immediately destroy upon finding. Oh yeah, there's a dude called the Maniac. I wonder what his deal is. If the game was just focused on you escaping a room, it would be a bit boring, but the Maniac can randomly come into the room you're trapped in, so you have to always make sure to go back into your hiding cage. But what if it were just a little bit more difficult?
Huh? Well, wait a second. Something's wrong here. Who turned on the control panel?
The Maniac is able to tell when you've messed with stuff, so each time he starts to make his way into the room, you're made a little paranoid on whether or not you've made everything in the room look exactly how it was before you woke up. The mechanic got me a few times. After you manage to not be a complete donor and actually get free.
This would be like tense if, like, you know, he starts banging and then he runs in, but you literally never see him again. Like, he just doesn't go through here. Or he's still banging on the door. Like, it's too late. Thanks for giving me the fucking lever. Oh yeah, then he breaks in and yeah, like, it doesn't matter. Does he like even peek or anything? Like, he could certainly just come in here and like stop me.
God damn you!
Yeah, like, this is really slow. It's like, damn, my hips are too big. I can't get through the fucking thing. No.
You're shown a little timer for how well you did, just like real escape rooms. I like this game quite a bit, and I can't wait for the next update, to be honest. Oh.
The last game of this category is SmileX 4 Scary Horror Escape. Now, I'm not familiar with the SmileX series of games, but starting with the 4th entry of something usually doesn't give me the best first impression. But, this is the title screen, and after choosing the only skin available, someone named Hari explains something to me. She's really trying her best.
When you saw me, I was pretending to be controlled by Corpex, but I couldn't let them catch us, so the virus you had installed gave off a strong electric shock, so you wouldn't accidentally give us away with your reaction, and we'd be discovered by the guards.
This is like when you're playing pretend in kindergarten and your friend is explaining why his laser eyes actually completely destroy the magic shield, even though the magic shield was specifically designed to counter all attacks. Kyle, you fucking asshole.
The virus behaved as if I was talking to you. I needed you to trust.
Okay, but who actually cares? Let me play the game. To start off, I'm in a little room where I pick up a Ammon 4 laser, and I find a hidden code behind a bookshelf. But to use the computer, I need a security USB. Searching around the room, I wasn't able to find it. But thankfully, the game has a full list of items you need to progress. And hidden, right on the desk where anyone could see it, I found a microscopic paperclip. I use it to open the vent, which gives access to the halls. Unfortunately, every single door happened to be locked, except for one. There were some guards in the halls, but I just kind of walked past them. So you'd think here I'm gonna start to make some progress, right? But oh no, the room is too dark and requires a flashlight. I check every individual door, and eventually one of them finally opens, which is completely empty besides a drawer containing a flashlight and a laser gun. At some point an enemy spawned directly on top of me, but I guess he just didn't care and kept patrolling as usual. Once I got a flashlight, I went back to the dark room and oh no! An evil robot began to chase me! And I'm lost. So I walked around this room for a solid, like, 10 minutes with absolutely no idea as to what to do. I think I interacted with every possible thing in that room and nothing did anything. It made me wonder what the point of being able to enter this room was if there wasn't anything I could do. I found a crowbar that allowed me to move heavy objects, but nothing in the room that I moved did anything. Eventually I decided that continuing to play the game just wasn't worth it. Overall, I mean, it was a functional game. Mostly. But I think at its core, that's the problem with starting a franchise 4 installments in. Maybe if I played the other 3 it would be better, but I'm not really sure. And that's the last of the first category of the video. I just realized this is gonna be a long one. I feel like escaping games are the first thing that come to mind when you think of the most generic type of horror game. Like, if I had to come up with a horror idea in 5 seconds, it would probably be, you're in a scary place and have to escape while avoiding the entity. Because of this, it's easy for a lot of these games to come off as a bit uninspired. The next category isn't going to be any better, break-in games, which is a nice way of saying Hello Neighbor clone. This genre was popularized by Scary Teacher 3D, a game that revolutionized the genre by showing the world that horror games don't actually need to have any horror. I'm really glad they put scary in the name, otherwise I'd be very confused. I'm genuinely shocked that even with no originality, you could still get 100 million downloads and a mega popular marketable character that random people could take and use in their awful content farm videos. But Scary Teacher isn't the only game published by ZNK Games. Scary Stranger 3D is their attempt to recreate lightning in a bottle, and it's definitely something. Why does he look like a zombie? The premise is very simple. In the same town as Scary Teacher, a group of kids are playing with a ball, but then the evil neighbor comes out and the world around him shifts, almost as if it's reacting to his presence. This guy has reality warping powers and is a threat to all of humanity.
I'll show these stupid birds,
he says, before immediately killing a dog for literally no reason. Unfortunately, the Scary Teacher kid is a moron and accidentally kicks his ball right into the evil stranger's yard.
Can I have my ball back?
What do you think, kid?
you go.
What the fuck? Then some other completely unrelated child who looks more evil and scary than the scary stranger decides to intervene.
Trying to teach Mr. Grumpy Pants a lesson.
His face alone tells me he plans on bombing several hospitals. From now on, he'll make the stranger's life a living hell for literally no reason pertaining to him. Stranger plans to have barbecue tonight. Make sure to mess everything up for him. The rest of the game is a collection of different levels, every single one of which plays out about as follows. A cutscene plays, setting up what you're about to do, then the game instructs you to do something to ruin his plans. What kind of plans, you might ask? Maybe his evil plans to take over the world? Nope. The very necessary actions we have to take are destroying his barbecue, destroying his piano, and even destroying his giant toy train that he just has for some reason. This all leads to the final outcome of getting a wild gorilla to cave his fucking skull in. He's just dead after that one. It's over. Jokes aside, I think the use of these little animations gives the game a lot more character, and it makes it a lot more memorable. It also does a good job of explaining why these characters got so popular to begin with. I'd imagine the most recognizable thing about these games are these little skits, ones that are similar to how the characters are used on YouTube Kids. So by integrating similar skits into the actual game, it's able to fulfill a very similar purpose. The players are able to point at the screen and go, "Wow, that's one scary stranger," without even needing to play the game. The cutscenes also serve as a continuous reward for putting up with the awful gameplay, which, if you think about it, is basically the same as watching more cutscenes, considering it just consists of you acting out the basic actions that you're told to perform. So it's kind of the perfect formula for ad revenue. Pair that with optional hints and footprints telling you exactly where to go at the cost of more ads, and now anyone can play the game. Anyone can make you money. Overall, this one can barely be classified as a game. It's more like an ad farm. But then again, that's what most mobile games nowadays are, so I guess it's nothing special. Here's Scary Neighbor 3D Horror Games. Another game about a scary neighbor. This title screen is giving flashbacks to Scary Grandpa. And is that the same kid from last game? Like the other games, this one has a very deep and interesting story. Your cousin is on a visit to your house. While playing outside your house, your ball went into the neighbor's house. At night, while you two were sleeping, your cousin left home in search of the ball. As you looked into the neighbor's house through the window, the neighbor's behavior didn't seem right. Wow. That was pretty scary, guys. Once again, this game is divided into levels. With each one, the player gets further and further into their search for their missing cousin. Let's see the first level. Go to the backyard and climb up the ladder. You'll find clues your cousin left behind. Okay. That seems like pretty definitive evidence. At this point, you can probably call the police and they can search his house for you. You're confused, unsure of your next move. If only there was a number you could call in case of an emergency. Or I guess you could just break into his house. Go to the main door and read the code from there. His house number? First of all, no one's stupid enough to make their house number the code to their garage. But second, this is a 4-digit lock. It's not gonna work with only 3-digit- Oh, okay, never mind. Fuck me then. I'm not sure who's the bigger idiot in this story. The moron neighbor who kinda deserves to get his house broken into for having the most guessable code imaginable. The cousin who thought breaking into someone's house in the middle of the night without telling anyone is a great idea. Or the kid also breaking into the neighbor's house instead of calling the police or even his parents. I think the proper answer is all of them. In the next level, he has installed a CCTV camera in the garage, and we just turn it off, steal his house key, and break in through his front door. I'm so confused that the neighbor is buying all these cameras and locks, but then he just leaves his house key and door code in a place where anyone can find it. And the funniest thing is that when his cameras inevitably fail due to his own incompetence, he decides, I shouldn't rely on these electronic devices anymore. And then the guard dog he gets just falls asleep, so we break into his house again. At this point, the kid knows he's just kinda dumb, so he starts digging through his drawers, and just the final ode to the neighbor's stupidity. In this level, he literally saw me go into his room, and then he just goes, I heard something, but there's no one here. Do you think the child you just saw might be in the one place that could fit a child? Also, Mr. Neighbor, why do you have a corkboard of missing children just casually sitting in your room? So with the photo evidence of his crimes, we escape the premises and head home. We then took that evidence and got him arrested. I don't actually know, I just didn't feel like playing any more of this game. It was quite funny though.
You little prick! Get out of my premises!
Next is Taco Loco Horror Game. Step into the world of Taco Loco, scary adventure, where every bite holds a secret and every shadow hides a danger. I'm terrified already. Who needs a title screen when you have this guy? Just look at his beautiful eyes. After choosing a difficulty, we're brought to a random garage to learn the basic controls. We can pick up items, and then the door opens up on its own, because it's scary. Almost as scary as Scary Grandpa. There's a fast travel system that allows us to go to 3 different locations instead of the usual 1 we have to break into in these games. The hideout, where we already are, the warehouse, and the restaurant. Despite having a number of different locations, you might be surprised to hear that this only makes progression more convoluted. As far as I can tell, you couldn't really make progress in the home base. There's a ladder I can't climb and some wires I can't cut, but I imagine in order to get something to cut the wires, I'll probably have to find them in another area. And going to the warehouse, at a glance, there doesn't seem to be much here. There were a couple doors that were all locked, so it seems like the only natural place to go to is to the restaurant, Taco Loco itself. I can't enter through the front door, so I have to find another way inside. Thankfully, there's another door. Oh, no, that's locked too. Hey, let's see if this guy can help. Okay, something's telling me he doesn't want to help. Luckily for me, at the titular Taco Loco, there's a vent I can open. Now the problem is that getting away from the man is easier said than done. Because there's literally nothing outside, you can't hide from him. He walks about as fast as you, and you drain stamina when you sprint to get away from him. So you're basically stuck slowly doing laps around the area as you get ready to sprint again. Finally, I find a vent on the side of the building, which is seemingly the only thing in this entire game I can interact with. Haha, I'm safe inside. How are you gonna get it? Oh, I forgot he has the key to the building. Hey, no hard feelings, right? It was just a joke. I was kidding. It's a joke. Is it just me, or is his anger actually like completely justified? Putting myself in his shoes, if I was a local business owner and some random guy was trying to break into my establishment in the middle of the night, I'd be pretty mad too. To escape him, I went to the warehouse, only to find him there. So there are either 2 of him, or he can be in 2 places at once, which doesn't really make sense. So now that he's here, I go back to Taco Loco and try to sneak in, but he's still in 2 places at once, so it didn't really work out. Eventually, I finally got in, but sadly, this door is locked. Oh no! In response, I stole 75 coins from his oven. There was a little rotating puzzle on the wall, which to solve it, you have to... wait, hold on, can you go? Wait, I'm busy right now. So I go back to the kitchen, lure him away, and god damn it, he's still here. Wait, he doesn't see me. Maybe, just never mind. So I'm stuck looping this guy around the ovens, being careful not to get stuck on them, which is something that just happens sometimes. And then he got me, and... oh. Oh man, are you alright? Look, let me just finish the puzzle. I didn't mean to hurt you. And he was a ghost the whole time. Now I'm finally free to answer the puzzle. It's really tedious because it takes forever and you have to wait between movements. Really, it's just not that well designed, and he's back again? Fuck! This game is called Angry King Scary Pranks, but he looks a lot more like a Hungry King to me. Brought to you by the same people who made Evil Nun, so you know it's gonna be good. While the story itself is just like any of these other games, the game at least tells its story in a thematic and stylized way. Once upon a time, there was a wicked king who enjoyed punishing anyone who dared to disrespect him. As time went by, he became increasingly angrier and ended up locking himself in his huge castle so as to not be disturbed. But one day, Leonard Goodfellow, a local prankster, decided to infiltrate the king's castle with the intention of making a fool of him and ending his reign. After so much mischief, it was time for the king to suffer the consequences of his actions. And what better way than to make a fool of him in his own throne room? The gameplay of this horror game isn't particularly scary. Much like Scary Neighbor, you just have to follow the given steps to achieve your pranks. Here, the door leading to the throne room is locked, and I need to find the key to get inside. I found it, then fell and broke my legs, and finally, after sneaking past some guards, I got into the throne room. We can finally get rid of the king once and for all by putting a whoopee cushion under his chair. Haha, take that, you rapscallion. Ooh, he's mad. After shilling a VIP membership, the game can actually start. Last time was fine, but obviously very simplified with just a few rooms. Now, the game is pretty much giving us full access to everything, which makes finding what you have to do really hard, actually. You have to just go around listening to the objective while avoiding letting the king or his knights find you. Thankfully, they're very slow, but in concept, they're an obstacle. When you get caught, you get thrown in the dungeon, but then you could just leave the dungeon, so I'm not really sure why it's there to begin with. The next prank is to trick the king into thinking his catapult is a chair, and after a lot of running around aimlessly, we can throw him in the poo-poo pile.
From here, I shall observe how my subjects toil.
Hey, Sournale here. I was told against my will to be playing scary stranger gorilla pranks. For some reason it's half a gigabyte. It's gonna be awesome, guys. Get ready. This was made by Tamor Kamor, who made other iconic classics such as Anime Pregnant Mom Simulator. Actually, I might have to get that game. Alright, let's just read the description now. Hey everybody! A crazy gorilla has escaped from the zoo van and have hid himself in a big villa.
Oh, hey, Raymundo.
Okay, well, what about the ratings? When I was outside playing Hello Scary Angry Neighbor with my dark-haired Alright, I could just skip the level if I want to. Oh, Magic Tile 3 again? Alright, this time I can do it. Here we go. Okay. Alright, watch this. Here we go. Oh, dude. What? Thankfully, not only was I able to skip any of the levels entirely, but I was also able to skip the cutscene and the dialogue. I have no idea what's going on, but that's okay. I could just skip to the next level if I wanted to. Ooh, cutscene. Who's at the door? Okay, so now we're hiding in people's houses. Wait, I probably should have listened to the story. I have no idea what's going on. Wait, I feel sleepy. I should find some place to sleep. Since we're feeling a little sleepy, the gorilla decides that the only place to sleep is the child's bedroom.
What? Dude, someone call the cops. What is this game?
Oh my god, a gorilla. Okay, she died.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, what's up?
Today I'm playing into Melon Sandbox.
Okay, what's that?
It's gonna be so much fun.
What is this?
Alright, I'm gonna get this game. Hold up. Here we go. Alright, let's see what this game is all about. Oh, a gun? Okay. Oh, I got a gun, guys. Alright, here we go. I don't care. Okay. Alright. What? So, I'd review more games, don't get me wrong, but I'd honestly rather get back to playing the classics. Yeah, I'm actually on level 4 right now. I'm actually kind of a pro at this game, believe it or not. So I'll just cut it here. So thanks for letting me on, I guess, Terror.
You're welcome. Yeah, back to you.
You might have noticed by now that a lot of these games are very similar, all using the exact same formula. And at this point, it's getting kind of hard to make fun of these games when they're all exactly the same. But don't worry, this one is a little different. It's called Prank Your Scary Neighbor. Yay! When it comes to mobile games, while none of them are actually good, a general rule of thumb is that if a game has more downloads, then it has a higher quality. That doesn't make the game good, it just means there's a little more polish. With that philosophy in mind, this game has 10,000 downloads. So it's about as great as you'd expect. The old neighbor has been threatening kids, giving physical punishment, and at times torturing kids. Now you have decided to teach him a lesson by scaring him. You will need to complete 10 tasks that will be funny to you, but unpleasant and scary for him. Good luck! I love the royalty-free, wholesome, friendly music. Really adds to the horrifying atmosphere. Okay, so now there's just no music. The game places us in front of the house, where we can use the O button to see our objective. Go inside the house and find mousetrap in cupboard. Sounds simple enough, especially when you have a giant arrow pointing exactly where you need to go. So I look, and sure enough, there it is. Easy. Then I dropped it. Where did it go? It's just gone. It fell into the void, never to be seen again. Oh, okay. So I try to run it back, and then he just starts bolting at me. Guys, don't make fun of his breathing. I think he has like asthma or something. The goal seems to have just magically changed. Now it's find mousetrap and place it on the table. So I lure him away, go back in, put it on the table, fuck it up. It's on the ground now. It won't let me pick it back up. So I just decided to start going around his house to see what else I could find. Eventually, the neighbor just stands in front of a door, completely motionless. He won. He just completely soft-locked me. There's literally no counterplay here. Okay, it seems like he's hiding from me this time, so I'm finally able to put the mousetrap on the table properly, and nothing happens. Thankfully, this time I was actually allowed to pick it back up. So I tried literally every other table in the house. Nothing. This game is so broken, I couldn't even make it past the first level. So I just decided to take his mousetrap and leave. That cost him like, what, 90 cents? I'll take that as a win. So that's it for the break-in games. Honestly, pretty shit. A lot of them played out in exactly the same way, and unlike the escaping games, it seems like these ones didn't even try when it came to the scares. Hopefully our next category can be a little more interesting. Finally, a change of pace from the boring escape and break-in games. Unlike the last two categories, this time I have nowhere to run. I can just sit down in my seat and let the horrors approach me instead. Starting with Five Nights at Maggie's C. The C in the name means classic. I'd play a later installment, but to avoid what happened with SmileX 4, I think I want to start at the beginning. That way I won't miss out on the developing lore. Already, that pig thing is way creepier than anything from all of the other games. We get a letter from Maggie's Entertainment, sent to a Steve Gennaro, welcoming him to his new job as a security guard. We're greeted with a phone call, and a guy just kinda rambles at us.
Hey, welcome to your new shop. Okay, I'll be quick. This is my laptop.
The office seems to be a combination of the first two FNAF games, as we have both a flashlight and doors. Instead of traditional power like other FNAF games, instead the doors have their own power that drains quickly but replenishes when not in use. There's also a laptop on the table we can use to close the vents. While a bit unpolished, I actually quite like the style of this game. It's neat that the security monitor is mounted to the wall and not some flippy tablet thing that just sits off screen. As with most FNAF games, for night one, besides a few encounters, nothing really happens. If an animatronic shows up, you just close the corresponding door. While the other two animatronics move, the creepy-ass pig animatronic stays still, waiting for his chance to strike. Soon enough, the night ends, and we get to play a minigame, giving us some lore. We're a frog, and we walk around the pizzeria following what looks like that damn pig animatronic leading a child somewhere. I knew that guy was bad news. The second night plays out just like the first, and nothing of note really happens. Which means it's time for another minigame, where the pig is luring yet another child. He can't be stopped! He's like the LeBron of child murderers. On night 3, we get to hear the phone guy pretend to be scared.
I'm scared. I'm actually scared right now. He's extremely fast, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Until he gets murdered, probably by the pig if I had to guess. And sure enough, you'll never guess who's deciding to move now. You deal with him by, get this, closing the door. Yeah, it turns out the door power is actually really lenient, so unless you have to keep literally every door closed, you're unlikely to dip below even 90%. The minigame at the end of the night plays out like the last two. The next night introduces a new animatronic, one that looks a lot like Foxy. It shows up in the hallway, I close the door, and it goes away. Then he just randomly appears in my room for no reason before... I'll just let you watch this.
Oh, God!
Wow. Then the game cut to black and just stopped responding, so I never did get to try again. Overall, this one is fine. It's clearly just a fan game, it isn't riddled with ads or trying to push any kind of VIP membership, so it's clearly just some guy who made a thing. And there's a certain charm to that. Next is Five Nights at Hugo's Diner. I have a lot less to say about this one because I couldn't figure it out. So we're working at Hugo's Family Diner.
You have one unheard message.
100 messages? So this dude either doesn't answer the phone or just gets that much attention. Maybe the calls are from the hospital because our character has some sort of heart condition and has to take pills to keep his BPM in check when it gets to a dangerous level. The computer with the cameras has to boot up and turn on every time you want to use them, which I have mixed thoughts on because it adds to the realism of using this older or cheaper technology, but also if I wanted to simulate using a toaster, I'd go to my kitchen. I can see some spooky looking animatronics on the screen, but it's not like that matters because in a few seconds I get a flashing warning. I assume this is about the pills, but when I go back to the computer, it's blue screened. The computer is now completely bricked. Despite the text on screen saying press any key to continue, there doesn't seem to be any way to actually do that. Your only option at that point is to shut down the computer and wait until an animatronic kills you. You've already lost. Wait. Is that fucking pig again? Especially since you can only toggle the door locks from within the camera system. I was able to make it to 4 AM before, well, this. Let's give this another go. Never mind, it's already blue screened. I'm not sure if I should have to explain this, but from a game design perspective, it might be important to demonstrate your game's mechanics before punishing the player for not following them. In FNAF 2, there's a reason the music box doesn't start ticking down from the beginning of night 1. It waits for the phone guy to tell the player about it, and even if they mute the phone, they're still able to get the memo because of the big green box that's literally telling you what to do. This game has a splash of text explaining the pills, but does nothing else for any of its other mechanics, and I find that quite annoying. Let's move on to Five Nights at Nightmares. No, not this nightmare, that nightmare. This Roblox guy. Maybe the About section can explain what exactly is going on here. I don't know, what should I write here, I guess. Truly a masterful piece of writing. Just like that, all of my uncertainty towards this game has just been put at ease. You're laughing. Nightmare is gonna kill you, and you're laughing. Me? I'm terrified. Just look at him. The office this time actually looks a lot like the other one, but instead of a hallway in the middle, now it's a vent. Because there's no power indicator, I accidentally turned all the lights on and wasted a ton of power. But thankfully it's only night 1, so I don't have to worry about being attacked. As you may or may not have noticed, despite not being a Roblox game, all the characters are Roblox. But, oh god! Baddie alert! There is a certified baddie in the area! You gotta look out, guys! The next few nights played out about as you'd expect. Occasionally, a character appears at the door, and you gotta close it. Out of curiosity, I died a few times to see the jump scares, and they sure are something. Really, I wish I had more to say about this one. I played it for over 30 minutes, and it was a little underwhelming, to say the least. Hopefully, Five Nights at Pizzeria 2 will be a little more interesting. I actually played Five Nights at Pizzeria ages ago in the first mobile horror games video, which at the time was known as Nights at Survival Pizzeria. It seems they got a little better at spelling in the last 4 years. Although, it's a real shame they replaced the iconic character Generic Poop Brown Rabbit. His replacement is Generic Fiery Pumpkin Villain, who basically serves the same role. It's so iconic, it doesn't even need to tell you the title. It also doesn't need a phone call to explain the mechanics. It also doesn't explain the mechanics. The office we're in looks a lot like the one from the last game, with just a few RGB gamer lights to separate it. Instead of having lights like traditional FNAF games, they're just flashes, which as you'll see later are pretty much useless. The Pumpkin Man spawns in and slowly enters the pizzeria. Something that separates this one from all the other FNAF games is that this one takes place in an actual 3D environment, rather than the pre-rendered simulated 3D which the actual FNAF games use. Because of this, the game basically plays out like FNAF, but in real time. No, not that one, that's next video. But here's the thing, this game is hiding a dark secret. It's completely broken. As you can see, here's the monster. He's currently located in this room. Then he moves a little closer, so I go to close the door. It doesn't work. But I have a game theory. Remember when I said that the game plays in real time? Well, it does, but I don't think the doors were designed around that. And the lights even less so. Notice how he's completely still in the room outside the door? Then if the door's open, once he starts moving, you can't actually stop him. What's the point in making the game play out in real time if it's just gonna play out like any other FNAF game? Closing the door also takes up a ton of power. By the end of night 1, I was thoroughly in the red, and I only had to defend against 2 approaches. Thankfully I was able to complete the night, but as far as I can tell, night 2 doesn't do anything differently, so I guess it's time to move on.
I entered the game and was immediately told I may be castrated in the workplace. If you're into that sort of thing, all power to you, but with all due respect, I do not want my dick meat eradicated. Seven Nights at Goose's is a game developed by Goose Company for the Windows Phone, known for their iconic titles such as Browser Tab Auto Refresh 2025. It's a Five Nights at Freddy's fan game, and if you want to get into semantics, a sit and survive game, but who gives a shit? You play as a night guard for the awesome and cool Goose's Pub, working midnight to 6 a.m. for $50 per week. A poor paycheck, but if you're at this position, you probably have nowhere else to go. And once again, as stated before, they are not responsible for castration in the workplace. Is this thing certified? Will this thing be doing it? The thing in question is Gary, an anthropomorphic Drake with a quote, strong body structure. We will not be seeing our king with he/it pronouns until night 3. All good things make you wait. The other 3 you will encounter are Bert, Ronald, and Polly, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy respectively. Actually, Bert and Ronald function more like the fellas in FNAF in real time, but again, it doesn't really matter. The game functions like a standard FNAF clone, 2 doors and a monitor. It's actually just Five Nights at the Krusty Krab. It's 2 doors and a window. Cool stuff. But unlike a standard FNAF game, you can press a button occasionally to get 1 power. That's it. Only 1. And at this point, I've run out of things to talk about. I'm being serious, there's nothing else. I ended up playing 7 Nights at Goose's up until night 4, because as it progressed, I noticed the game became more and more outlandish. The first 2 newspapers seemed at least somewhat based in reality. It was shaping up to be a standard FNAF game. Then night 3 happened. I think this is the best game ever made. 7 Nights at Goose's is a provocative art piece designed to criticize the state of FNAF games as a whole. It's purposely designed to be as obtuse as possible. The story makes no sense, things just happen for the sake of it. The phone guy is text-to-speech. Fan games have tutorials that are as dry and bland as they could possibly be. The game centers around dragging the screen to reach the doors. It's as difficult as possible. The extra power is a gimmick added on for the sake of it, with no real purpose besides more game per goose inch. It's a perfect game, because it's designed to be bad. Or, you know, it could just be shit.
The last game in this section is Five Nights at Memes. Like Five Nights at Pizzeria, I actually played another entry of this series in another video, that game being Five Nights at Memes 2. From what I remember, that game wasn't great. It looked like it was drawn in MS Paint, and the actual gameplay was just FNAF 2 but worse, so I didn't have very high expectations for the original. Until I realized that these games were actually made by completely different people entirely independently of one another. Now, Five Nights at Memes isn't the most original idea, but I find this coincidence very amusing, especially because this game came out years after its supposed sequel. So you have the gnome and Big Chungus in a game that takes place after the one with Capybara and the Beluga Cat. Memes that happened years later. Night 1. 4 hours left before power turns on. So we're in an office that's actually just a handful of PNG images. And we get a phone call from the Incredible Gassy explaining our current predicament.
Hi, this recording was specially made for you in order to—
So apparently we're taking care of his apartment while he's away, but his house is haunted by the ghosts of dead memes. For night 1, we have to deal with the aforementioned Beluga and Capybara. Although on night 1, they never actually made it to the door, so it was pretty easy. On night 2, I forgot to pay attention to the phone call, so some blob thing that isn't even a meme came out and killed me. Apparently he's trapped in a painting, and if he escapes, you just need to close the door, which is easy enough. Despite the power being offline, there's more than enough backup power from the generator, which lets us easily coast to the end of the night. Now, night 3 is built different. 2 new memes are introduced. A hacker from Anonymous, who hacks you with a mechanic that's suspiciously similar to the FNAF 2 music box, and this weird ghost guy with an Anonymous mask, who you have to flash when he approaches in the vent. Now, charging the flash takes 5 seconds and costs power to keep charged. So sometimes you just can't have it ready to go when you hear his sound cue, and because of that, the timing is very, very strict, which led to quite a few deaths. Because of that, after a few attempts, I gave up. But, as surprised as I am to say this, Five Nights at Memes was somehow one of the better games here. It doesn't take itself seriously, and the graphics aren't great, but it manages to do its own thing, and it feels less derivative because of it. That's all for the FNAF likes. The Backrooms is a horror concept that blew up in May 2022. And as for any popular horror thing on the internet, everyone quickly wanted to get their own piece of the pie. Because of this, it seems like every developer on the Play Store decided to take their own shot at making the definitive Backrooms game. I think the main challenge with making a Backrooms game is that, while scary, being trapped in an endless series of hallways doesn't exactly sound fun. That's what several others must have thought too, as the Backrooms lore spans a seemingly endless number of floors, based on other liminal spaces which each have their own obstacles. Some might argue that adding a ton of floors and monsters and secrets defeats the horror of the original idea, an endless purgatory of isolation you can never escape from. And I am some, but I think when it comes to the idea of making games, usually the more stuff the better. Let's see how these games try to translate the Backrooms, starting with the first game, Backrooms Anomaly Horror Game. Let me just choose a random age. Thanks for the warm welcome, I guess. Add this game to the list of games with awesome menus. Just completely still, unmoving, and dead. After several years of training, I was finally assigned to a top secret experimentation unit. As far as I know, my objective is to go into something they call the Backrooms, to find several scientists. I must find where they have disappeared and return with them. or what's left of them.
Time to explore this back room.
I love how the main character hasn't at all been informed of what the backrooms actually are when he's tasked with saving the scientists from them. Like, they expect you to go in and just figure it out. And who are we even playing as? Some child? Look at how tall the counters are compared to you. There's a door with a code on it, but that's not important right now. We grab a hazmat suit, or a chemical suite, according to the computer, and finally enter the backrooms. Oh boy! I can get X2 flashlight time and increase 25% run speed, so the level design isn't a completely random maze. Instead, there are subtle additions helping to guide the player forward, like giant fuck-off arrows on every wall telling you exactly where to go. And also, almond milk, for some reason, just on the floor. I feel giddy. I see weird things. The colors. I need to find more almond milk. I am by no means an expert on the backrooms, but this made me incredibly confused. I went back and checked the original post, and there's no mention of almonds or almond milk. Apparently at some point, a Reddit user alluded to not drinking, quote, water that smells like almonds as a nod to cyanide poisoning, and the idea was telephoned and absorbed into the greater backrooms mythos as a health potion that magically restores sanity. Which I feel like is the opposite effect of cyanide poisoning. That telephoned even more in this game, since it isn't even almond water, but cans of almond milk. In the game, you drink the almond milk to deal with your sanity meter, which gradually goes down as you explore. Something you'll hear is the occasional, really loud sound for literally no reason. What the fuck? But generally, the only thing you're doing is walking. But eventually, I made it to an exit, and right next to it was a can of almond milk, a helmet, and a card with the code N7P. In the next area, I even found a special key for hub door, but unfortunately, after that, it seems my luck ran out. I spent the next 5 minutes walking completely aimlessly, until finally I made it to the hub access door. The hub seems to be like that one hull of portals from Minecraft Story Mode, or the type of place where you'd see Scooby and the gang running away from a monster. Then there's the next area where you're able to go outside, then I found a monitor, and... So I lost all my progress. Overall, I mean, it's whatever. It's interesting that the game translated multiple layers because it shows that there was an amount of effort put into it, even if the final results are pretty unpolished. While I didn't really like playing Apeirophobia in the Roblox Horror Games video, I have to actually apologize because man, I took it for granted back then. At least that one has an actual gameplay loop that's fun with friends. Actually, maybe multiplayer is all I need for one of these to be good. Maybe Noclip Backrooms multiplayer will be better. I'll just set my age, oh cool, it uses voice chat, and it doesn't work. It just keeps crashing the game every time I try to open it. Furthest I got was the difficulty selector. I mean, with so many games, I guess they can't all be functional. I guess I'll just move on to Survive in Backrooms Eerie. I already regret saying the last game was unpolished. What is this menu? End game. I really wish I could be doing that right about now. So the gameplay here is pretty self-explanatory, especially when you have the survival timer right there. You have to survive in the backrooms for as long as you can and try to get a new high score. The game has this ugly sharpen filter, which kinda hurts my eyes when I look too closely, clearly trying and failing to resemble a VHS effect. The UI barely qualifies. Opening the inventory, you just get this absolutely schizophrenic diagram of something. I imagine this map is randomly generated because the layout doesn't seem to have any thought behind it. It also has the most mind-numbing buzzing sound so far, really piercing directly into your ears, which to be fair is accurate to the original idea, but also paired with the visuals, it actually gave me a headache in just a few minutes. This game suffers from the main issue with Backrooms games, which is that, say it with me now, nothing ever happens! I didn't encounter a single monster. I didn't encounter a single exit. I didn't encounter a single sign of life besides a mysterious red version of the Backrooms that slowly kills you when you walk into it. The gameplay just has you running forward until you die, which to be fair is in line with the Backrooms, but that doesn't make for a very good game. Well, actually, eventually one thing did happen. At one point I was just walking aimlessly, as you do in the Backrooms, and then I was just suddenly teleported to a dark void. Why do they sound like they're on the toilet? It seems like there's a bunch of other levels, but you're not able to access them unless you watch an ad, which I'm not doing for this game. Overall, for a game called Survive in Backrooms, there really wasn't a lot of surviving. Maybe Backroom survival horror will be a little better. So here we have Escape from Backrooms. Wait, that's not the name. The first thing I see is a giant bunch of doors. Now at first I assumed this was like the other game that had a hub connecting the different layers, but with the power of hindsight, I can tell you that's not the case. When I go into the only door available, it takes me to, you'll never guess, the Backrooms. This version might be the most nonsensical yet. There are a ton of doors everywhere, and going through them teleports you to completely different parts of the floor. You can see the rooms they lead to before the game fades to black and forces you to go somewhere else. It's kind of disorienting actually. But we're not alone. Something is about to join us. Wow. Now that's terrifying. So the goal of this game is pretty self-explanatory, which is good because the game makes no effort to explain it. So you need to get keys and then head to the door, all while avoiding that thing. I have no idea what this creature is. I took a little peek at the wiki's entity database, but I couldn't even find it there. I also just didn't look very hard, to be honest, so I can only assume that this monster is some sort of royalty-free Unity asset. For some unknown reason, you're able to double jump in this game, which is at least a singular original mechanic. It doesn't help much, if at all. The monsters can attack you from pretty far away, so an extra little jump won't make a difference. Luckily, if you just walk around enough, you'll eventually cross the keys. Finally, I'm able to play another level! Wait, it's exactly the same. Now, I don't know about you, but I would rather play a good game with one level than a bad game with all the levels. This game, however, manages to do the worst of both worlds by having multiple of the same level, and it isn't even good. Very impressive. So I found all 3 of the keys, but I couldn't find the door. Thankfully, the monster attacked me, and then it politely placed me in front of the door so I could leave. Thank you, monster. Very cool. Unfortunately, I don't have that part recorded because my recording completely broke and corrupted, so it actually looks like this, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. Overall, this one is bare bones, even for Backrooms games.
You know what they say, the entire point of making friends as a YouTuber is so that they can convince you to play games for their videos. Today, I have been tasked with playing a game known as Hide in the Back Room Nextbots. There are no back rooms here, it's the one Backroom. As an aficionado of this entire thing, let's see what this game has to offer. So here on the loading screen, we have the lobby, which is chapter 1, and then if you beat it, you get to go to levels 2, 3, and 4 to progress forward. But in the name of all things Backrooms, we're gonna start on level 1, which is actually level 0. Not sure why they call it level 1, but I digress. There's also like the aqua park, the store, Mr. Kitty house, even though it's Kitty's house. Fun levels, the amusement park, subway, and the lobby. So let's hop in and let's just see what we can get into. I want to play hide. I don't want to seek yet. I want to hide. Start with the power up. Okay, you can go through walls, go faster, or become invisible. Yeah, do I have to watch an ad to do this, guys? I think I have to watch an ad if I want to get that. Let's see. They put the power-ups behind a paywall. I kind of respect it. I kind of do. Now I'm watching a guy gun down polar bears into slices of meat. Just watch that. I don't want to play it. I just watched it. How do I get out of this? Okay, we have a power-up. I don't know if these are random people or not, but I'm playing now. There's a guy here at a little bookshelf. What? Is the objective to just run around and do this stuff? What am I doing here? Looks like I just did something. I'll have to run. Okay, can we go through here? Okay. I'm assuming it's kind of like Nico's Nextbots, if you've ever seen that or played that. Get coins, get to like a specific part of the level. Oh, I'm getting chased by the bacteria. That's not good. Oh, I passed. I won. Wants me to try to get keys? How do I do that? Oh, it makes me watch another video. Okay. Guys, let's be real. Let's be reasonable. I'm a reasonable gentleman. I'm not watching 2 ads for you in like 2 seconds. What? I said no thanks, and it's making me watch an ad again. What is going on? Get me out of this ad. No, I don't want to watch the freaking ad. Oh my god, let's hide again. I'm not watching an ad. There we go. I feel like power-ups are low-key useless anyways, so I don't really want to. Okay. The controls aren't that bad. It's actually like a pretty smooth game, I'd say. Can I hit this? You have to fix the electricity. That's the objective. And it looks like it's over here somewhere. Right by the shelf with hands. Let's fix the electricity. Done. Hop down to the slide. Enter the room to get back. You know, besides the fact that I have to watch at least 10,400 ads to get to the next level, it's not a bad game. The controls are good. I swear if I have to that's 3 ads in 2 minutes, guys. 3. I don't want to watch an ad to go invisible. Let's do the objective. Let's follow Edeline, run around. We have to inspect the tentacle. Okay, let's inspect the tentacle. Performing. Level pass done. Now we have to enter the room. Oh, shoot! There's the bacteria. It's not very smart. I just outwitted it with my amazing sense of the backrooms. I just thought my camera was right there, and did you see that, guys? That was awesome. Oh, and if I claim and watch a video, I can get a super-powered suit. Let's do that. Well, if I had to give a rating to hide in the backroom Nextbots, I'd say it wasn't that bad. The games were really short, really easy. It was obvious this is kind of like a kid's game. Mechanics weren't bad. It wasn't laggy. It was pretty quick. I'm gonna go drown myself in the nearest creek after watching that many ads. Bye.
The last game of this category is Backrooms Descent Horror Game, and it could very well be the best game of this entire video. Just from the menu music, you can tell that this game is trying to set a tone. Ominous, but cool. As you can see, there are a ton of levels here. All the classics like Prologue, Level 0, Pool Rooms, Level 188, I think we skipped a few. Then Level Fun, that one doesn't even have a number. Then finally, Level 2, followed by 94. It feels like the level order was chosen by dartboard. However, you can tell that with some levels being Prologue and The End, this game has a greater emphasis on story. This is Backrooms Descent. Okay, so we're in a house with a crying baby, we go to get him some food, and I actually really like this. It's an interesting bait and switch, asking the player to do something only to instead no-clip into the backrooms, which is perfectly in line with the mythos of the backrooms. It could have been executed a bit more cleanly. The text that reads, "Where am I? What is this place?" cuts away as soon as it appears and is impossible to read, but in concept, I see why they were going with this. It raises what would be a leading concern to someone in the backrooms. Not just, how do I get home, but can I get home? Is there still a home? Will that baby ever get fed, or is it gonna die starving in its crib? In most Backrooms games, you're just there. They never bother raising those concerns at all. There's a police car clipping inside, explaining the concept of no clipping into the backrooms. There's a pool of blood with a flashlight allowing you to pick it up, and a crude drawing of an exit on the wall, showcasing our goal. I like that all of these are diegetic and make sense in the world. It has some good storytelling. It implies that a police officer fell in here before us, and was able to communicate all of this before succumbing to a gruesome fate. And it also serves the purpose of nudging the player in the right direction. The layer itself is just the typical layer 0, with items strewn about, although occasionally you'll encounter a monster reminiscent of the gatherers from Amnesia. Unfortunately, the AI is kind of broken. If you can somehow avoid that devilish fiend, you can make it to an elevator to descend to the next layer. The walls may shift, but your resolve may not. We enter the pool rooms and meet this guy Jamal, a friend who also fell into the back rooms. The first thing I do after seeing a familiar face is argue with him. Then he just sits his ass back down while I figure out how to leave because he is completely useless. Other iterations of the pool rooms are really cool. While there's sometimes the implication of some sunlight getting through, usually you're just left in what might as well be a flooded version of Layer 0 with some different architecture. But it's clear that this game is going for something different, instead trying to give you a feeling of megalophobia rather than claustrophobia. The issue is that in a horror game, I want to feel trapped. Instead, it just shows me a surprisingly beautiful sky texture that signals to the player that everything will be alright. Being able to see the sky completely kills the tone the game was trying to establish this entire time. And in this moment, I realized something kind of crazy. This completely mediocre, forgettable game is literally 1 degree separated from one of the greatest horror games ever created. SCP is a similar online horror phenomenon that came many years before the Backrooms, which on a mainstream level was popularized by the game SCP Containment Breach. In the game, you're on your own, trapped underground, as you have to escape a number of layers, each with their own dangerous anomalies. That sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? This game could have been the Containment Breach of Backrooms games, a definitive playable version of all of the different horrors based on the Backrooms. They even look similar graphically, but there's a crucial difference between these two games. Containment Breach was a game made with a ton of thought and intent. After playing through the entire game, when you're finally able to make it to the surface, the player is greeted with a beautiful, bright blue sky, something they're seeing for the first time in the entire game. It's not the only sky you can see, but all the other ones are muddled, gray and hellish. The sky is supposed to reflect your freedom, having escaped one of the scariest scenarios in the SCP universe. And this tiny detail reflects the amount of care put into every aspect of this game. Backrooms Descent does not have this care. While on a surface level it has a ton of content, layers, and puzzles, just like the way the backrooms reflect real places, it's superficial. The sky at the end of Containment Breach is a reward. For the very first time, you aren't trapped in a claustrophobic room. Here, you can just see it in the second level of the game. It almost feels like they just forgot to add the roof. Tangent aside, the actual level here has you going through the pool rooms, turning 4 different valves, which were nicely labeled on the walls. I didn't encounter a single enemy here, but with the level being so big, it's possible I might have just missed it. The third level has you in this hotel place pushing down these switches to raise the door. You go through a few floors with a few symbols on the walls, then you have to relay the order they appeared. I wasn't really paying attention, but I kinda just guessed my way through. I didn't encounter any entities here either, though this time I think there just isn't one since it's a lot more linear. I wouldn't have missed it. Next is Layer 2, with a very simple valve puzzle being the only obstacle stopping this level from being literally a minute long. It ended up being 2 minutes. The next level is a wide open field. I'd complain again about seeing the sky, but the skybox here is somehow a lot more liminal feeling, which means the developer is actually capable of making skies that don't ruin the tone. This makes the other skybox all the more confusing to me. This one requires you to turn some switches to unlock the central door, and this was about the point I checked out. Overall, this one is really interesting. I can complain about missed potential, but at the end of the day, it stands out in the fact that there was potential to begin with. Although, after playing this game, I still have to say, the Backroom still has yet to see its containment breach. And that wraps up the Backrooms games. Overall, it's interesting to see how each of these different approaches take the exact same topic and turn it into completely different experiences, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Now let's get weird. I've decided to label the last batch of games as excuse me what, because they're either too weird or niche to be placed in the other categories. I guess the word miscellaneous has the same effect, but that's not as quirky or silly. Let's see the games that were so different that they're in this category. Starting with Bigfoot, Yeti, Gorilla, Sasquatch. I'm already shaking in my boots. Welcome to Bigfoot, Yeti, Gorilla, Sasquatch 3D game. Yeti is an amazing creature that can be found in the wilds of North America. This beast has been known to attack humans and eat them. The Sasquatch is a very dangerous species and should never be approached or provoked. If you see it, run as fast as you can or have the courage to hunt the giant using weapons. Wow. Oh my god. So the game opens with an environment selection, which lets us choose between the jungle and snow. Then we get our mode selection, survival mode or campaign mode. Then there's one final choice for difficulty and we can finally start the game.
Take weapon and hunt down the Bigfoot.
Spoken like a true caveman. We then get our selection of weapons, ammo, and meat. Eventually, I take the sniper and it's finally time to hunt Bigfoot. Oh my god! Why does he move so fast? So Bigfoot kind of just runs around before he swoops in to attack you. And if you hit him, he starts sliding his way back into the fog, preparing for his next attack. He actually does a ton of damage if he hits you, so be sure to not go too far from home base.
Mission complete! Congratulations! You killed the Bigfoot!
This game is awesome. It's not good. In fact, it's very low quality, but something about its very surface level faults make it really charming. This can further be seen in survival mode, which puts you in an open environment and you have to hunt down all Bigfoot monsters. These guys go flying in the air at the slightest tap. I kept playing this mode for an embarrassingly long amount of time, which was like 7 minutes, but seeing the ragdoll physics genuinely never stopped being hilarious. The goal is to get the highest score by surviving for as long as possible. But really, the biggest challenge is to avoid falling asleep, because they're not really a threat. Overall, this one is awesome and I love it. The next one is called Horror Wreck. The Horror Magazine soon will show for the first time the new documentary film about the real paranormal events occurred in abandoned places over the county. As the description said, poorly, the game is about a horror magazine called Horror Magazine, showing the findings from a documentary film called Horror Wreck. Currently, there are 2 chapters you can play, Asylum and Cemetery. The idea isn't that deep. You're a guy in a scary place with a camera known as the Paranormal Activity Sensor. that gives you the ability to see spirits. You need to encounter all of the ghosts to move on, but using it occasionally spawns a scary girl in front of you, and you have to turn it off or else you die. This game has a pretty good atmosphere. I also like that the game has a premise that isn't just, you are here and have to escape. The character actually has a reason to be in these haunted places. He's working on the magazine. The next level, the cemetery, isn't as easy. Not because it's more dangerous, but just because the map is a lot more open, with more space between the entities. It doesn't help that the player moves at crawling speed, and slowly waddles his way through the area as if he has 2 broken legs. So even though there's literally no danger at all if you're paying attention, it still takes absolutely forever. There's a little static effect that covers the screen when you're feeling spiritual interference, but you already have to be in the right area to trigger that. Something I would do to fix this is copying the gimmick from the Isaac Challenge Red Redemption. In that challenge, you have a red key and have to continuously use it to open rooms in order to find the exit. However, the key has a limited amount of uses, and when it inevitably runs out, this evil ghost guy, Tainted Esau, appears and tries to murder you until the end of the floor. Although, you can still continue to use the key. It's just that now, every few uses, another ghost spawns until you have an army of Tainted Esau's chasing you down. So imagine that the camera only has 10 uses before the little ghost girl starts chasing you around. That way, the player's punished for blindly guessing, and the game isn't in baby mode anymore. Overall, in its current state, it's pretty forgettable, which sucks because I feel like there's a bit of potential here. I shot it? You didn't shoot anything. Here, I'll show you shooting it. The next one is Merge Monsters Fake Call Scary. Okay, real talk, if you got a call from this recolored Huggy Wuggy dude, would you pick up the phone? Thank you for choosing our app. Please read the terms of use and privacy policy before using the application. You know what? Sure, let's see it. Oh, so this is Merge Monsters Fake Call Scary. We have 4 options: call now, caller ID, schedule, and FAQ. And I guess the privacy policy too, for some reason. Let's see what kind of questions people have about this amazing app. What does it do? I think you could guess from the name. How long will it be active? Until you hang up. Can I lock the screen after setting the timer? Well, yes, but actually no. Can I get a call with the app in the background? Sure. Can I make a motion gesture to receive the call? No, because it's literally not possible. Why are you even asking, you moron? Well, that sucked. Let's just call the monster already.
It's me!
No! Okay, so nothing actually happened. Yeah, it turns out this app just doesn't have any audio. So I sadly am not able to hear anything coming from my dear Moonster. How sad. I will now cry for 10 million trillion years. No, Moonster, I'll never know what you have to say. Yeah, that seems long enough. Oh boy, now I can play Lethal Contract Horror Online. I've actually never played Lethal Company, so I'm just going to assume this is exactly what it's like with no differences. I'll go single player, easy mode because I am a baby, and map 1. Let's read some tips. 1. Tap on doors to open them. I could have probably guessed, but thanks, I guess. 2. Use weapons to hurt enemies. Really? I never would have guessed. 3. Search for items to escape. Oh, okay. 4. Sell items from inventory in the shop. Wait, I thought you said I needed the items to escape. 5. Tap on the chat icon to talk with other players. I'm in single player. 6. Complete the mission to win. I think that can describe literally every video game ever made. So I spawn in a deserted husk of a world with a big old complex in front of me. There's what looks like a space van for my intergalactic road trip, with walls that you could just walk right through. As the tips expertly explained, I need to break in, secure items, and sell them for money. According to the top right corner, I need $5,005, which is quite a lot. The tips also mentioned enemies. Aw man, what if they're scary? Why does he move like that? So the enemies all act exactly like this. Once you get close enough, they slowly walk towards you, so you can just shoot them immediately. Oh no! There's a scary monster! Nope, just shoot him. I've actually seen a few of these models before. In the multiplayer mobile horror games video, I covered Asylum 77. Another multiplayer game that looks exactly like this, where enemies also act exactly like this. Well, it turns out they were both made by the same people, Super FPS-Fizzco. They also made that one Backrooms game that didn't work. Huh, small world. Overall, I can imagine this is probably just like a soulless, empty version of Lethal Company. At least I could guess what that Backrooms game was like now.
One of the most infamous horror mobile games is the iconic Resident Evil 4 Mobile Edition. Resident Evil 4 itself is one of the greatest games of all time. It revolutionized over-the-shoulder third-person gameplay. It has incredible graphics that still look good to this day, and is overall just an incredibly fun and dense game. It was also incredibly successful, so in 2009, Resident Evil 4 Mobile released on iOS devices. But is this quirky little demake of any actual value? Well, let's get right into that, as we delve into Resident Evil 4 Mobile Edition. The fascinating little detail about this game is that it wasn't actually made for iOS devices. In fact, this game actually started its life on the Zeebo, an incredibly obscure and interesting little Brazilian game console. The Zeebo itself is a fascinating little rabbit hole on its own, and oftentimes when this game is brought up, it's alongside the Zeebo. The Zeebo and mobile ports were released within a pretty similar time from each other, and they were pretty successful, but the question is it any good? Well, grab a green herb and join me as we delve into the low-poly woods of rural Spain. When it comes to horror games, it's a bit of a stretch to say that Resident Evil 4 is really part of that genre, especially when comparing it to the games that came before and after it, with the exception of 5 and 6. The gameplay of the mobile port, however, does actually feel more in line with the classic survival horror of Resident Evil. The mobile port makes it hard to do just about anything, leading to situations to be much more tense, although I don't think that was intentional. Resident Evil 4 Mobile is just oozing with personality. The graphics look like if you were to take Resident Evil 4 and put it on the PS1. The sound effects are all compressed and bit crushed, and the general vibe of the game is actually captured really, really well. It's genuinely impressive. The majority of the experience is maintained. You still fight chainsaw guys, El Gigante, the blind guys with the blades for hands, and Ashley is more brain dead than ever. I love Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I've played it an ungodly amount of times. So seeing these iconic characters that I love and know so well in these low poly stylized graphics is genuinely so much fun. The cutscenes, and I say that with heavy quotation marks, are actually one of my favorite parts. Despite being glorified slideshows, they're actually super charming and actually get the point across pretty well, for the most part. Interestingly enough, the merchant actually gets his own full cutscene from the game, which is appropriate, and he deserves that. Despite being such a downgraded version of the game, the full experience is basically there. Most of the levels are much shorter than they are in the main game, but you'll still be fighting the same bosses and they function the same way, which is actually really impressive. Some of the fights in the mobile game didn't even make it to the base game of the remake, which is weird. As mentioned earlier, Resident Evil 4 isn't really a horror game. It's a heavily stylized action experience with a horror art style and creepy enemies. However, Resident Evil 4 Mobile is a bit of a different story, for me at least. Being so deeply familiar with the original game, playing the demake filled me with a bit of dread. It's so familiar, it's almost right, but there's just something that's not there. Something's just wrong. It almost reminds me of when you're playing a video game in your dreams. It's normal, you're having fun, then you realize something isn't right. Oftentimes whenever this happens to me, it completely freaks me out and ruins whatever dream I'm having. And I guess I feel familiarly on edge when I'm playing this mobile demake, which sounds ridiculous, but I'm a ridiculous man. I honestly adore this eerie feeling. I'm so desensitized to most horror games, so being able to actually feel something when playing a horror game is wonderful, even if it's unintentionally creepy. What's cool is that this isn't even the only Resident Evil mobile game of its time. Resident Evil fans of the late 2000s were lucky enough to get Resident Evil Degeneration, a mobile game based on the CGI film. I've personally never played it, so I don't really have anything to say on it, but it looks really cool from the gameplay that I've seen, and takes heavy influence from Resident Evil 4. Now, you may be interested in playing this game, but if you look in the App Store today, you're not going to find it. However, there is a pretty accessible and easy way to do this. This right here is my jailbroken original iPad, and here I have Resident Evil 4 Mobile Edition, and it works perfectly. Jailbreaking iOS devices is shockingly easy, and if you download Viteris, it's there. So that's pretty much everything I have to say about the Resident Evil 4 mobile port.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've finally made it. The last horror game of the video. And I've decided to save the best for last. Scary Piggy Granny Horror Game. Okay, so it was actually the worst for last. Scary Piggy Granny Horror Game. Definitely not just a collection of keywords. Let's play the Scary Piggy Granny Horror Game and enjoy the adventures of a haunted house riddles game. At the start of the game, you will see a family coming to spend a vacation, and suddenly, they arrived to the Scary Piggy Granny's house, where a fatey Piggy's king is living with Piggy's family and with little Piggy piggy workers. Some friends is caught by the escaped Scary Pig King. You have to try to resolve all the riddles and find some food for the prisoners of piggies. Made with Unity should be a horseman of the apocalypse. So should the privacy policy. At least this loading screen is cool. It foreshadows that there will, in fact, be a pig. And a house. Here's horseman number 3, and that's 4. So will the locusts be coming now, or... Now that's a title screen! Quick, take this to the gallery! As you can see, we are once again presented with a masterclass in graphic design. The nightmare-inducing superhero pig thrown into the middle of the screen with a clip art mansion in the background. Also perfectly designed to create as much dead space as possible. It can only be a metaphor for the feeling of emptiness people experience in society. It also contains options for exit, setting, rate us, privacy, and store on the left-hand side. On the right, we have the $25 we received from the daily reward, which we got before even playing the game. Under that is Get 2x Hint! And of course, we can't forget Get 2x Hint! Or if you want, you can unlock everything! But you can also just remove ads with the Remove Ads button, if that's all you seek to do. But the greatest message hidden in this title screen is that the title itself, Scary Piggy Granny Horror Game, does not appear anywhere on the title screen. It's so profound. Or maybe it just sucks. Do you want to know the story of our scary piggy? Of course, why wouldn't I?
This is the story of Piggy King, who resides in a large house and employs a large number of people. On the other hand, a group is
Pick your ideal.
I want to commend the voice actor of this scene for all the hard work they put into this. Thank you very much, Frankenstein. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but the game will ask you if you want to hear the story every time you press play. I don't know why it does this. The funniest part is that we actually don't need this written explanation, because there's also an entire opening cutscene. You get to see some guys walking around, it's pretty neat, but then they start fighting each other, and they're in a house. Really, it's kind of just showing us stuff. But then a bunch of people are in a bus, and oh no! It drops us off at the evil pig mansion. Wait! Whatever you do, do not all walk in unison towards it with the exact same walking animation, and I'm too late, aren't I? Damn it. Happens every time. So now the pigs have everyone captured, and I have to
go! Find the key to enter the home!
Well, that was quite the start. The actual gameplay sucks. Remember all the way back in the break-in section when there were these level-based games because the open nature of Granny was too hard for children? So this is literally just that. You do what the game tells you to, and the levels end basically immediately.
Level complete.
Because of that, I was actually able to play through this entire game in about 20 minutes. I take the key, enter the house, and the level's already over. Then I walk forward, and the level's already over. But now I have to find a USB. Surely this one will be difficult. I get the USB, and the level is already over. Sometimes you'll have to cross these pigs, but if you just follow the path in front of you, avoiding them is the easiest thing ever. Next level, I put the USB in the system, but oh no, I accidentally dropped it out of reality, so I had to restart. But after that, it worked, and the level's already over. Then I have to find and close the water tap, but the pig there kinda rocked my shit. He hits you really hard, wow. Then you find some bolt cutters, and you can finally rescue your friends. I'll free you, not you, and you. Then you have to help them escape. So you just walk outside. But then, the friends, ungrateful as always, want to eat food. Ugh, how helpless.
I want mommy, I want milk, I want to be held, I want to be comforted.
So you go inside, get some brownie mix, which you don't cook by the way, and go feed it to them. I'll feed you, and you. I wonder if that other guy is doing all right. I'm pretty sure he's still tied up. Then, finally, you can get your grand revenge and poison the king. That's the whole game. There is literally nothing else. The shop just has a bunch of items and microtransactions, but I genuinely don't get why anyone would buy them or why they were implemented. This isn't the kind of game that works with microtransactions. Usually those games would have to have some sort of long-lasting progression to keep people playing for longer. This game is the exact opposite of replayable. Once you beat the last level, there's literally no incentive to come back. So why did they add daily rewards? Who would actually play this game every day? And if the game wants to be replayed, Why does it ask to explain the story every time you start the game? There's even an option to just buy access to all the levels. I don't know why, but it's an option. This game is genuinely baffling. Every single decision made in the creation of this game goes against any level of logical reasoning. Why are there daily rewards for a game with only 13 levels? Why would anyone ever need to buy items to beat levels when the items can be found in the levels themselves? Why would anyone need hints when the game tells you exactly what to do? To all of these questions, I do not know. This game has caused me irreparable brain damage. Trying to decipher the logic behind its game design has driven me to madness. And through that madness is the most horror I have experienced in any of these games. I am deeply concerned for the mental health of this game's developer. Are they in psychiatric care? I don't know, but they need to be. The game's kind of funny though. So that's all for Mobile Horror Games 3. If I had to rank each category of game, I'd say the excuse me whats were the most fun, followed by the FNAF-Likes, Backrooms games, escaping games, and lastly, the break-in games. The last two categories are basically interchangeable since they all just involve escaping some sort of villain. And after a while, all of them just kinda blended together into a gray sludge. I hope this was enough to satisfy everyone who likes my mobile game reviews, as this is probably going to be the last one for a while. I've been working on this video since September, and the thought of ever opening the App Store again makes me want to kill someone. If you want to watch more of these for whatever reason, feel free to watch the multi-reviews playlist, which has another, like, 50 of these. In the meantime, I never want to touch another mobile horror game ever again. See ya!